Okay, the two questions that I'm getting asked more so as of lately is what are interest rates doing and what are housing values going to be doing? And ironically, the housing values come up quite a bit more so than really it normally does. It's usually a very common question in the process, but this video is designed to essentially hopefully answer those two questions in a simplistic way. What you're looking at on your screen, far left-hand side, you're going to see 1970. Far right-hand side, you're going to see 2020. And if you go to the very edge of this here, that really is 2024. Now, on the numbers on the left-hand side, where it goes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, telling us is that that's how many months of inventory is available for sale. So when it's at the 6 right here, what it's saying is that that is 6 months of inventory that is currently available for sale in the United States. Now, if we were looking at values and we were worried about a crash or values essentially dropping, there's a couple things that we'd want to see if it's going to repeat itself. More so, how's the supply and is it getting to the point where it has an excess supply? If we look at 2008, where we got to the peak in 2009, 2010, essentially the mortgage meltdown, well, that was at a 12-month supply of inventory. If we look at where we're currently today, we're only about 8 months as far as supply goes. Across the entire timeline, it's pretty close to being about in the middle. The other big thing that we need to look at and factor in is the gray lines that you see running down the screen. These are measuring times where we've been in a recession officially, where it's been declared as far as economic data points that show, yes, we are actually in a recession. That's also not applicable in this particular case. Not to mention, housing prices in general are going through the roof. They have not stopped. Now, why this is happening? Well, it's mainly due to the inflation and essentially the Fed's continuously printing the currency to go ahead and try and keep on top of the national debt. As long as they continue to print, well, that's going to make values go up because essentially the more they print, the less the dollar's purchasing power has the ability to purchase it did the day before. Now, here's probably the most important part that we're going to go into. When we look at the delinquency rates and what led us into 2008 and the mortgage meltdown, well, the delinquency rates were steadily increasing and going up and up and up until the point where they went on a roller coaster to the very tippy top. And if we look at where our current delinquency rates are right now, the far right-hand side is the end of 2023. Now, the next side here, or next slide, is going to show this on a little bit more of a granular level. This is the delinquency rates right now for mortgages. And if you notice, through 2006, 7, and 8, we gradually started to go up until we exponentially started to climb. If you look at what our current trend is right now, they've been actually trending downwards. And the main reason for this is FHFA, or the Federal Housing Finance Agency, has given explicit direction to all the GSEs, or the government-sponsored entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie, VA, FHA, etc., to go ahead and do anything possible to keep borrowers in their home, keep the mortgages performing, and keep them as a paid as agreed and performing actual asset for the books. They do not want a 2008 on their hands. Also, most importantly, 2008 was a great training exercise in the sense of mortgage companies didn't have REO or repo departments set up back in 2008. This is where you heard all the horror stories when multiple times you had to send the packages for loan modification. They would lose the documents. They didn't have track of anything. And it would go on for a year to 2 years in most cases. And nowadays, if you apply for a loan modification or loan assistance, they have a full department built out. They know exactly what to do. They have all their templates and they have procedures and process in place. And a lot of that came from being built out from 2008. So in the event that we were going to be on the precipice of another financial event, well, this time around, there's going to be a lot more of an ability for them to keep people in the house and keep them on a payment that they can't afford versus having to go to a foreclosure or short sale. Now, last but not least, the grand finale aspect of it, let's take the ultimate perfect storm. For those that are not having a hard time making their mortgage payment, the other side of that coin is everyone is doing anything and everything is possible that they can to keep the low rate that they have to ensure that they don't lose it, because they can't go and rent for cheaper like they could back in 08. They can't go and buy for cheaper like they could back in 08. So between people that just want to maintain their financially low payments and essentially more affordable living, to the ones that are having a hard time making their payments and have now the outlets and the ability to go ahead and go through loan assistance, and the fact that delinquency rates are pretty much almost at all-time low and not increasing, this is why you're not going to see values drop. This is why you're going to see the prices continue to increase as the Feds continue to print currency and essentially try to handle the national debt. That inflation will continue to get worse, thus housing prices will continue to climb, thus it's going to get more expensive to buy a property. As far as where interest rates go, well, essentially, if you've heard or seen some of my other videos, long story short, as we get further into this recession, the only leverage that the Feds have is to drop interest rates. This is not a probability or 99% of the time or a majority of the time this happens. This is with a 100% certainty. Every single time the United States gets into a little bit of financial trouble, the first thing they do is start dropping interest rates. This is why we saw the Feds finally cut rates a couple weeks ago. First time that we've seen them do it since May of 2022. More expected to come, and lower rates are expected to come. If you're looking for interest rates in the 4s, probably not till the end of 25. If you're looking for rates in the 3s, probably not until 2026. I hope I'm wrong, but the reality is it took us a couple years to get this high. It's going to take us a couple years to get lower than where we're currently at right now.